All right,
Are you calling to order?
good, I was making sure Chris was done. Let's call the meeting to order, 7:06.
All right, 7:07, so that's what I'm ready.
Stand for pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You guys are quieter than middle school kids when they say the pledge
They
in the
yell it?
morning.
That's because they're
They're
all
like, they are.
fired
They
up.
are.
You wanna do roll call?
I suppose I can since Brian's not here.
He's coming late.
Yeah. But in the meantime, I get to be secretary.
So
Just
he-
like old times.
I know.
Fox is here. Fox is
Corey.
Here.
Lisa. Kenyon.
You.
Kirk.
Yep.
Kruse.
Excused.
Patton.
Excused.
Did you take a minute?
Corbett.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ries is coming late. Weiss.
Here.
Young.
Yep.
Zelenak.
Take
Excused.
minutes.
Thank you.
Approve the agenda.
Did you get
I just handed them the
Did you get both of them? The agenda's for two from Brad.
Does anybody have any additions they wanna add to the agenda?
The only thing I just want to confirm is the flower bill that I sent.
We did receive it, and I'm not sure how we're gonna handle it quite yet, and that'll come up here in a second, so we'll process that.
Is that on here?
It isn't,
Are we
but
amending?
I don't think it's something that has to be voted on, so I don't think it's something, I think it's something that just needs to be handed over to be paid for. I think I just got that a week ago,
Okay, that works.
but we did receive it, and printed it out, and we debated on putting it on the agenda or not, it doesn't really need to be voted on. I do wanna add one item under new business, and that's gonna be, DDA board member resignation.
Who would that be?
Mark. Okay, and I've got a letter. Anybody have anything else?
I think what I have to share will just be during board comments.
Okay. And I have some stuff to share during chairman comments too, so. All right, then I move that we accept the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of minutes, May 7th.
What's the date on the next training? Remember?
There's 3 of them.
August?
One of them's in August, the one that's closest to us is in August, and that's Manistee.
You don't know when?
I don't have it off the top of my head.
Alright.
I have it though, I can send it back out. And I'm planning on driving down, like Brian's gonna ride with me, so I've got a Suburban.
Okay.
9,
I'd like to try to make that one, we'll just see how.
yeah. Does anybody have any changes?
Other than the English teacher?
Then I move we approve the minutes of May 7th, 2014, as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright. On to the next thing, correspondence.
Public comment?
Oh, sorry, public comment. Is there any public comment?
Actually, I do, yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Brad Glasgow, if any of you don't know me. I've been a resident of Central Lake for most of my life, except for about 15 years that I spent in Detroit. My family has been in town for 100 or so years. I have pictures of my great-grandfather in town. Just so you know that I have a pretty big interest in the town, and the reason I'm here is I was at the last meeting, and it was 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and it was, frankly, a little bit of a disappointment to me because it looked like things didn't really get done for that amount of work. And what I wanted to say today was that I'm a writer and a computer guy and a bunch of different things. And in writing, one of the things that we teach is that you want a strong thesis whenever you write a paper. And I think that might be what the DDA needs before you move on to other things. You need a thesis, an overall goal for what you want with Central Lake. Because there are a whole lot of ideas going around and I don't think there's much focus there. So I would encourage you all to come up with a thesis. And the other thing I wanted to touch on was being a computer guy. I know one of the things you guys are possibly thinking about is like a facade, grants and working on your facade. I'm wondering are those good return on investment grants? Are you going to get people into your business by having a new facade? And the reason I say this is because you guys have taken about $20,000 from the village so far. That's about $20 from every man, woman, and child in the village. And that's great. The village needs you and you guys need us village residents. But we all have an interest in what you guys do. And so one of my personal things is not a lot of businesses downtown have websites. And that around, depending on whatever study you look at, around 70 to 90% of people look online before they shop now. And there aren't many places downtown that have websites. So I would encourage, I would think about $300-400 on a website, $600 might do you more good than a $10,000 facade improvement. I encourage you to please work smartly with village money. The village is spending about $80,000 on the park, a new park improvement, which is great, but the park is open 3 months a year. How long will it take to get a return of investment on that $80,000 that we're spending? No one knows because there was no study done. No one looked at it. I would encourage you, if you're going to do major improvements to downtown, please do a study, please look at what downtown needs before you proceed. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Very good. Anybody else? No other public comment. Public comment period is closed. Correspondence. I've got something from Bart, but I'm gonna save that for new business. We did have a bill come in for the flowers and the materials and stuff. That's it, and if anybody wants to look at it, I don't know if I brought it, if it's on my computer, but I can send it out to you so you can look at it. I'm not quite sure, I was gonna actually ask Ken how he wants us to handle the paying of that, if that's something that I just turn into the village writes a check, and then it just takes care of it, you know, I don't know, so Ken's not here to ask that tonight, so.
I would assume that would be how we go.
I think so, because we don't have a fund that we.
Yeah, we don't have a bank
anywhere
account
we-
of any
we-
kind yet, we
yeah.
don't have.
So, I have that receipt, or that invoice, and I'll just turn that over to Ken.
The only comment that I wanted to make about that was that with $1,000 that we've already approved, that bill that bill hit that number, but that also included the purchase of flowers.
Right, I think we approved $500 for
Yeah, for the
flowers.
flowers
Right.
on top of the labor.
Right, in her initial billing time, she ended up billing for the initial cut down at $20 an hour versus $15. But on the other side, then she gave us free flowers that she would have been billing us at $20 or $25 pop, and
Right.
so it pretty much kind of was a tis for a tis. But I just wanted to make that comment formally.
And if we have to go more above the budget, I'm sure we can figure out a way to, you know, vote at the next meeting or whatever for the next.
I think from now on, then just her coming 2 or 3 hours every other week, you know, from now until the end of fall and stuff, then we still should be able to easily keep it below the 3,000, which is what the village was previously spending, and we've got new flowers.
Yeah, I stopped and talked to her a little bit, and she says it would have been a lot easier had it been cut down last fall.
Right.
And she's having to work extra to get that cut down.
Yeah.
And somebody approached me today actually and wanted to know if we were doing flowers around the clock tower. So I don't know if she had planned on doing that as part of the thing or not.
I was under the impression that we were only responsible for the
So was I.
corners.
So,
And also those buckets, that was my other question, because
The
in front
hanging
of the,
baskets?
yeah, but they're coming out of the ground or whatever, but,
Oh, okay, yep. The
um,
ones in the little lot by
oh,
us.
I don't know, those were not
Yeah.
mentioned to me, they were not, all it was told was the corner
No.
pieces.
so.
I think Candy used to take care of them when Candy, Kehoe did it. I think she used to take care of them, but I don't know whose responsibility they technically were.
Right.
Now, I didn't tell you, but, Betty, Betty, yes. Betty Burnett called me last week to find out if we were taking care of, because she knew that we were taking care of the ones in the village. She
Mhm.
called to find out if we were taking care of the ones at the signs, and I told her no on the signs. So the flower, the
Flower club.
garden
The garden
club
Yep.
are still taking care of those ones,
Okay.
so those will still be okay.
I have one of those in front, and I just went ahead and bought some flowers and put them in.
Yeah, I've got one in my corner too, but then I noticed like the Masonic Hall has two in front of them, and like they're not really like strategically like making sense, so I don't know if it was a business.
Should
They
check
did it
with Ken to
themselves,
find out
or-
what he wants done.
Yeah, because it was originally, there was 12 flower beds, I don't wanna get too crazy with, because it. then
I
there's
think what it
conflicts.
is we just gotta get them all covered, just left-handed talk to right hand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We'll figure it out, we can, there's additional ones next to Masonic Hall that,
Yeah, there's two wrought iron things coming out of the ground, there's one at the corner by Tia's that I have no problem putting something into, but I just didn't wanna, I
Just
mean,
do it.
So two by
I
the
can-
hall, the two by us, one, yeah, is that counting the one in the little courtyard?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Who's watering these
I think
suckers?
there's two,
they've got little spigots, they come up.
I think there was two, and then around the.
Are they working?
huh? What?
And then
Everybody seen them
around
working?
the clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen them working, their spigots come out of the ground, I didn't check them all, but I've seen them working.
I saw somebody working on them a couple weeks ago, so.
Oh,
There's one by the clock.
yeah, and let's just make sure they water them, because I put flowers in my employees let them die.
Awesome.
I said, did you remember the two over there? Oh, look up, look up. So you just look up. I know they're 10 feet away. So look up.
Alright.
I go out of town 4 days, come back, flowers like.
Anybody have any more correspondence? That's all I had, was just the bill there, and then, I checked our email a couple days ago, there's a bunch of junk mail.
Well, I'm sure this woman lives not that well. I think we ought to hurry it up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's about
well,
to get it
I'll
done.
go ahead and get, I was gonna get with Ken tonight, now he wanted me to do that, so I'll get with him tomorrow. Note to myself. Okay. Committee reports, as of right now, we don't have any committees, I don't believe. Do we? No, alright. Down to old business, downtown development plan. I don't know, did Melissa find anything? She said you had some information.
Yes.
What did she find?
This is, 6 different, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 8, different companies. She did find that there is no current, place out there that's free. So, her recommendation is still to continue on and getting the RFPs formally, so that way we've got more than, we need to go in, coherence with what the village does when they're taking bids, and that's a minimum of 3. Which I think, we've already.
We
have
have 5 different quotes.
Or so, but
And one refused us, so I think we have 4
Yeah.
officially.
if you can hand that over to
Did
Cory.
Did any of them send R5?
Everything that was sent out was emailed to everybody.
Okay, because I had 2 plans that I printed that had been shared.
Yeah, and that's everything I received from Ken, and here is one from McKenna and Associates.
Yep, I got that one.
One from Beckett and Radar. And then there was, Beckett and Radar was $13,250.
I've got Johnson Hill Land Ethics.
And that one I did not, I don't have
I don't think
anything.
we have a printout on that one.
Yeah, I don't have a printout on the
I got
Jensen.
their letter.
You sent it.
Okay.
I sent it, hang on.
And then I've
Okay.
got McKenna, which is like 36 pages.
Oh, yeah, they were,
Thank God I printed it at school.
Yeah. Ken printed ours.
you printed it in color, how's yours?
Yeah.
I was black and white.
I would like to say that I did go to downtown Grayling, over the weekend, and I was definitely less than impressed. I don't know exactly.
They just started doing stuff,
They
they,
just
like
started
this year.
doing stuff, yeah. So, still a lot of really empty storefronts,
Yep.
facades definitely weren't done. There was a new business coming in that was a brewery, but again, you know, the DDA isn't in charge of what business is gonna fill that storefront.
But we can help attract businesses to here.
Yeah, but to
Okay,
Brad's
the
point,
downtown area over there really has come a long way in the last year or two,
yeah,
because I mean, it was the pit.
yeah, so it's,
I
there's
remember
been some work done to
Yeah,
it.
but it seems like everybody's coming together and cleaning it up, and
Mhm.
it looks cleaner than it did before. They're
Mhm.
painting and they're,
It always used to be pretty rough, I was there 10 years ago. Manastee's looking pretty good, and they've been doing the Main Street stuff, and they have a very active DDA. I went to the DDA training on Tuesday, that was really good, and I'm sorry everybody had to miss that, that was actually quite good. Rob back in Gloopy, I call it Baca Gloopy, I've known Rob for 15 years, he's a really smart guy, he's the director of the DDA for Traverse City, and kind of went through a one-on-one style class. And I was a tad bit on the basic side, I felt, but they were showing all the stuff that they were able to do with their DDA, from helping keep the developments that happen inside the village looking like, or inside their city, looking like part of the city. The parking decks are one he kept on going back to, because they control the parking decks.
Yeah, that was their big issue in Traverse City, you know, was the parking
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, exactly, not using the space wisely, and that was
Right.
something they included in part of their plan, was they had to make wise use of the space. And there's actually a slide that showed how it was like a map of Traverse City from 1890s into the 1950s. It would continually add more buildings and got bigger, but after the 1950s, there got to be more cars, and so buildings started disappearing. So they started taking them and turning them into parking lots, because they had to have a place for it to park. And so the parking's always been an issue in Traverse, and they were able to strategically add parking decks and entice businesses to build around them. And so it was just interesting as, for a village to be able to use that as a viable tool for keeping the look of their town and the feel of their town.
Right.
Because, you know, I'm really not a big fan of McDonald's moving in, next to the library.
Yes, but a McDonald's, no.
Right. And so looking at the proposals that we had access to, I appreciated the fact that Johnson and Hill put what theirs doesn't include. And I couldn't find something similar in McKenna's report. And I think that we still need to hear from a couple more, but we didn't have anything, Tom, from you recommend the people that did the plan for East Jordan?
That was
that
Johnson Hill.
was Johnson.
That's Johnson
That's
Hill,
Johnson Hill.
okay.
And looking at their resume of the places that they actually did, it was more of our style of more of cities we
Town.
know, more of the towns and villages that we know, versus, I don't know, one of these was places I hadn't heard of, Thumb area.
Right. I would appreciate something, something like this from everybody, so it's apples to apples.
Right.
I like that their proposal includes a timeline and lots of references to their qualifications, you know, and
I think when he originally got this we just wanna see how much it's gonna cost us.
Yeah, well, the thing is because he talked in generalities and that person responded specifically to what they do and don't do, which is good.
this one did what they don't do. They included what they don't do.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
one did not.
Now, you can work at it either way. Either take all that information and create an RFP and send it back out again, right? Or you can take all the information, find the best ones, find what's similar, so you don't have to ask those questions, and then generate a request for information back at them to say, are you including
Right.
X, Y, Z?
Right,
And so,
right.
but I'd much prefer to take that information and send a whole new RFP out. You know, based on what the information they're giving us, because they're really giving us what should be the basis of what we need.
Right.
You know, sample, with enough of a sampling, I think, to probably include it.
Right. Now,
And so there's RFP templates that I brought some information for that, of how to do a basic one, but honestly, there's ones that you can buy for a few $100s that it's just fill in the blanks type thing. As long as you know your subject matter, what your end requirement is, right, and what you want to include it in, and then how long it takes them, what their success rate is, because you want to know that, so you can evaluate
well,
them.
mhm.
You know, if you've done 50 proposals and you've only helped with two areas.
Well, I think what we want is, we want to know that our TIF would be approved. I mean, we want to know that would be, because that's ultimately
That's what we're
what we're
headed.
hoping for. And I think a given right now is that we can't do this for free. And so it is going to be something that we have to pay for.
Mhm.
And it's, I think we gotta expedite. We've been sitting around for long enough.
I agree.
And according to McKenna, they've got a 7-month timeline. Johnson Hill has a 5-month timeline. But this includes, and what I was looking at with McKenna, and I would hope that this is what is included with Johnson Hill as well, that they'll run the town meetings that we have to have. They will form the committee of residents if there needs to be one, you know, and so they'll do a lot of that crazy legwork that would, that is necessary.
And that we don't really know how to do.
When I spoke with, Ken and I spoke with the Johnson Hill people at one point, and they said they would do, they said they'd do it. Now, it's not necessarily written out like that, so maybe that's not good enough, but, I mean, they did say that they would be willing to, they would go ahead and do that. They manage all of that to make sure it happens.
Not be willing, you know, not
Give
be
it-
willing to, but that's part of the
Right.
deal.
Well, and I think that's what they said. Honestly, it's been long enough now, I don't really know.
I know of other ones they've done where they have done that, so I would assume, but the question still should be asked.
Right.
Yep, because have them run the show, just so that,
So-
you know, we know what to do, where to vote on, what decisions to make, and then we know where the public comment is.
Is it fair to give them one of these, this one,
No,
and say, do you do that?
no.
Tom, didn't you say that, you
No, there's,
had acquaintances in East Jordan that did the development plan?
That's-
Well, that was
that's-
Johnson.
That is
Well, he
Johnson.
did it for Plain City, and I know he did East Jordan.
Okay,
I know he's
East
done
Jordan,
other
Point
areas.
City's doing great, East Jordan not doing so great.
But part of that, I don't think that has to do with the plan.
Well, no, it had
That has
nothing to do with that. It had, that he had worked for them doing things. He redid a park in Plain City.
Okay.
I know he was doing the whole downtown area as far as, putting together they actually were redoing their plan, and he did the redo.
okay, so I guess the biggest thing is, what's our timeline of when we want to get responses back? And we already know that it's 5 to 7 months, I guess, that they say that it takes for this process. So do we want to say in the next 60 days, we positively send all the information out?
Well, what questions are there? I mean, there's no such waiting 60 days if we don't know the questions.
Correct.
So
That's what
we
I'm
should
saying.
make a list of the questions we want, and we should be able to get an answer right back on those.
Yeah, what I'm saying is our timeline is what are we gonna do as far as the timeline?
Well, who is the shortest timeline?
No,
Well,
us.
I've only got
We need
two.
to ask for the right information first.
I've only got information from 2 places here. Now, we did get information from others?
We had some, and
Here's Beckett.
Well, there were 4 of them on that email.
No, there's Beckett.
I thought like this was there?
yeah, should have been.
I don't,
I
It might
forwarded
have
it on.
been, it might have been an earlier one.
Yeah,
Okay,
Brian, I think Brian only had access to
I emailed them what I
2 or
had.
3.
I
okay.
emailed everything I had, no. We had Beckett and Radar, we had McKenna, we had Spicer Group,
Johnson Hill.
and Wade Trim. Wade Trim declined to bid. We're not a big enough place for them.
Well, we don't want them anymore.
Oh,
That's kind of what we thought.
Yep.
So there's 4 then?
Yeah,
I don't see the one from Spicer Group in here.
I'm not seeing it either. Did Ken not print that one?
He may not have. Yeah, I don't see it in here. I see a tag on it, but
Or maybe they called,
they might, yeah.
maybe they just called and didn't.
left message with Rob Eggers, return call, called back, sent info.
But they gave us
Technically,
a
we had
quote, we
three.
just didn't get a penny on it.
Well, McKenna's the one that's in that middle, like 11,000.
No, it was,
Johnson Hill.
Johnson Hill.
Johnson Hill was
$11,580.
least expensive. Beckett is $13,250,
and Wade, oh, I'm sorry, and McKenna was the most expensive at 19.5.
but they're shorter, Beckett is a shorter, timeframe. They've got June to September.
Yeah, wouldn't it,
Back
are
at
they all providing the
13,250.
same thing? Is that what you're saying?
They've all done this before, so it's not new, but, you know,
How was East Jordan? Were they satisfied with their?
yeah.
Plan?
Well, Mark is the guy with Johnson, used to be one of the head guys with Wade Trim, and he left and went with Johnson. But they use, Wade Trim does multi-billion-dollar jobs.
The ones that declined the.
Yeah. They're real heavy duty.
Yeah.
Just feel like they're apprentice people.
You know, I'm really leaning towards the Johnson Hill people myself. Although
Well,
I like
it
to spend,
seems-
I like the $19,500 one too, the McKenna one. Because I like how complete that was, but that's a lot of money for a Johnson development then.
How much was it?
19.5 for McKenna. That's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
More does it offer other than Johnson for twice the price? What does it offer? in your opinion?
They were very exacting in what they,
Yeah, they, just very thorough about it, that's all the real difference that we can see.
All of them, of course, have references, right?
yes.
Have you called all the references yet?
No, did not take the time to call all the references.
Did we call any of the references and say, was that a complete package, and can we get a copy of yours?
We can get most of them online.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
Alphabet,
people have
for
already
example.
had it done, and they'll be glad to share a copy with them, share some of the.
Boyne Cities is online, and I've looked over Boyne Cities.
And it's all-inclusive price, and they got what they paid for, and.
I talked
it
to
was approved.
Hugh Conklin way back when, he's their Main Street director, or was, I think he just retired. And he was happy with what was going on with the Main Street, that was when we were starting the Main Street stuff, he was very happy with what's going on there. You know, he didn't have anything negative to say about any kind of DDA plan or anything, and to be honest with you, we didn't talk about that necessarily, but it all kind of falls together. So I don't know, I've not heard anything bad, I know they were very happy with what they had going on over there, Boyne City's got lots of reason to be happy over there.
Who did theirs again?
What's that?
Who did theirs?
I think Johnson Hill did.
Okay, not included in Johnson Hill is legal review of planning documents and preparation of a certified boundary survey of the DDA district. That is included in McKenna, which could explain the fee differential there.
Would it be $10,000 to do a survey though?
There's several surveys that need to be done. We anticipate but not have confirmed that Brian Graham will be able to provide review of these documents.
Yep.
We also recommend that a certified boundary survey of the DDA district be prepared in conjunction with this work.
They're having, I don't know what they just paid for having the park done, because there's a dispute there.
Yeah,
You have with that?
Mm-mm.
No, I do.
Yeah,
All right. I mean, this is why all this stuff's important.
it is terribly important.
Yeah.
So,
The park, to make it quick and short, the park put out this, all this information to get a grant, they got the grant. They never did actually do a survey, and they don't actually own the land, in front of, Bedell's place. Nobody owns it. So Bedell, during the winter, asked the village if he could put a couple docks out there to help his business and put some kayaks and stuff to rent there. And they didn't get back with him, and they didn't get back with him in a timely manner. He wanted to get it going before it was August. So he did a little bit of research and found out that nobody owned it, and that he had,
Riparian rights.
yep. In other words, You could claim it, and then of course the village says, no, you can't do that, and we'll condemn it, and we'll, eminent domain and all that kind of stuff, and charge $125, and we'll pay you off or something, in the worst case. But the problem is it was never surveyed, it never had a clear title, all those things, they should have gotten done before they cart before the horse. So that's why, that's kind of important, because you don't know, as old as this town is, and a lot of things that weren't done along the way, then who knows?
Correct.
It might be that Bachman owns the whole damn town.
What?
You'd pay taxes on it too.
I'm just kidding,
Yeah.
it means that Bachman owns the whole town, just kidding. What I'm saying
But
is,
it's
nobody knows.
They get lost.
Right.
Yeah, so what is we have to find out
Well,
what
sure.
all this stuff is.
And that costs money,
Yes,
But-
and a survey is very, very expensive
absolutely.
for something that big.
But it's worth it because it can save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in the long run, you know?
Yes.
So my question would be, has the village gone through and done a survey?
Yeah, that's why you see the little flags up right now,
Oh,
Where?
Oh, for that property down
the
there.
park.
Right,
Yeah,
okay,
I
but
saw
not
some
for the
people.
downtown
Yeah,
area.
The
but
downtown-
the thing is, that could slow up that whole process, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely, they
down-
can jeopardize their grant.
Right,
The downtown development
and ours. and
Has a-
everybody's.
has a legal description, I don't know if it's a survey, but it has a legal description that came from when they first set up the DDA, they had to define their district. So I'm gonna assume that maybe one was done, but whether or not we can find it is gonna be a whole nother thing.
I think it needs, I would think that it would be either, well,
Well, they put docks there, they put a gazebo there, they put a little boardwalk, they done all those things. Don't get me wrong, if Walt wanted to, for example, if he wanted to claim it, and now he kinda wants to because he thinks it adds value to his property, which I thought was not very good. But, the bottom line is you don't know how many easements, right-of-ways, all that kinda stuff.
Yeah, that goes into it.
It goes into it. So I'm just
Better
saying, I
safe
think
than
it's
done.
probably a really good idea, but I think if that needs to be done, it probably needs to be done for the whole village, and maybe they would come up with some of that money also.
mhm.
They should probably have to help pay for it if it's necessary that it needs to, yeah.
Well, they would want it by now with the hiccup they just had.
and
Because
so,
they've had fights, for the boat launch on Torch Lake. It was a dead end.
Right.
The property owner said, look, you've never used it, you know, blah, 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 Gilbert or wherever it was, a while back.
Mhm.
So that's another one where they really didn't own it.
Try to build it.
Yeah,
and that could,
they just assumed they owned it.
that could account for the time differential as well, because this one doesn't include a survey, this one does. The McKenna does, the Johnson Hill does not.
Survey stuff is expensive. I mean, it's like,
Yes.
it's $100 an hour type thing.
Is it $10,000 expense? I mean, well,
Yeah, actually, now that you
$8,000,
mention
is it?
having to, if we're actually gonna get like our downtown, like what we see on that little map blocked off, double check that everything's accurate and correct, and all that time and data that goes into it. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's some legwork by somebody who gets paid a lot more than me.
Mhm. Well, I'm pretty sure the village has somebody they have a go-to person for their.
Well, the
survey.
tax guys should have all that information.
Yeah, they have a company,
Well, there's a
so-
legal description for the boundaries, now, don't they have to
They just-
survey
No,
to
it's
do that?
Yeah, but they had legal description for that property too. They just assumed that the legal description meant that they had title.
Because part of that survey is connecting titles
Right.
to, yeah, and it's substantial work. But, you
That
know,
happens in big cities. My brother's a lawyer in Alexandria, and he bought this building and found out that he had all the records from 1700s in his building.
Oh, wow.
His lawyers used to keep them,
that's right.
and he bought this building, it was built like 1780 on Alfred Street. And he went in the back, and it looks like a dirty old vault, and it was like a bunch of old file cabinets, and he started opening them up, and he found all the records. So I helped him buy the building when he bought it, so they gave me rights to half the records, which in turn gave me a $1.6 million tax write-off because I donated all the records to Fairfax County. Because they found a map in
See?
Fairfax County.
Why doesn't that happen to me?
Yeah.
You have
The
not
map
lived
in
in
Fairfax
Fairfax
County had all these
yet.
little buttons on it, and all these little markers, and it corresponded to the files.
Really?
right? So it was George Washington gave such and such this and such that, and so many cows, and they were all right in every file.
That is so cool.
That
Yeah.
is really neat.
And so you open up and you find somebody's house that, you know, that Monroe's fucking, whoever, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, you're
It's
just
pretty
not
cool.
looking at all the nooks and
So-
crannies, Michelle.
What, you know,
Like it is.
So what I'm saying is there's some weird stuff going on,
Keep digging.
and now that you start doing this kind of stuff, somebody like Walt, for example,
Tell
now
Ethan that
is
he's
gonna
not
try
looking
and.
in the right spot.
make sure they're
No,
covered.
no, he wants that property now.
Right,
He
right.
might, and he might be nice enough to let us use it. I'm saying that because I got my tongue in my cheek.
In your
Yeah, and the thing is they all should be able to sit down and talk about it and work something out, so nobody plants trees in front of his view, stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? So I think it all can be worked out, they just gotta do it amicably,
Yeah.
and, both agree that
Okay.
they're in the best interest of the town.
So with doing one of these plans, we need to make sure that we include a survey?
Yeah.
If there's already an existing survey?
You need to get with Ken and find out what
Yes.
he will require.
Yeah, is there an existing survey? Because if there's an existing survey, do we need to have it done again?
Well, they may be able to just update it too. That's why you really need to take this whole thing to Ken and let them
Yes.
figure it out.
Okay. So survey is kind of required, is what we're saying.
One way or another, we need one.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
Job one.
Okay, that's good, that's written down there. So assuming Johnson Hill, well, they don't include it on theirs.
Right.
Right.
I just wanna give you one more thing, when I started to build my garage, I found out there was a 60-foot easement that
Right.
was in the middle of my house on Green Street.
Hmm.
That never had been changed, ever, okay?
Correct.
There might be easements, your store might, 10 foot of your store might be, in it. They just never changed it, and they still
Right.
haven't changed it.
Right.
It would probably be a good time for the village to invest in,
I mean, we just did a full survey of everything, so, if we need to.
yeah, look where the easements are, that'll be the most interesting.
Yeah.
Now, they changed, in other words, they allowed, they said, oh, no, now we're doing a 30, but nobody ever wrote it down or changed anything. And the same thing with mine, and the water lines or anything in the right spot and everything else, but
They never changed it.
they never changed anything, and it would be 2 feet from my
And then all
front
of a
door.
sudden, somebody wants to do something and they can do it because the easement's there. Right, that's.
Yeah.
You normally end up in court.
So, I guess to get back on that, we at least maybe ask Johnson if they, what it costed to match what McKenna's doing, to make both the bids equal.
Well,
That would be
and they may just farm that out.
something.
Or-
like that.
Yeah, however they wanna do it, but that, we have a
I
cost.
think you just,
I would take it to Ken first and let Ken determine if we need to
Okay.
do it, what do we need to do.
and I think
I
what
mean,
you ought to
that-
do is take and assign 2 people to, or 3 people to do something about it. I mean, to do the final RFP, send it out to the rest of them, everybody's apples to apples, and we get a straight up bid.
Yeah, I agree, Chris, that we need to, you know, a couple people who are, you know, interested, you know, and really, putting together what our goals are as the, you know, as a DDA, because I mean, we're looking at everybody's thing and we don't even know if we're on a survey. I mean,
But
so to.
Well,
to
we don't know
put
what
together-
questions to ask either. That's why we're kind of
Right,
we
sitting
know
here
what we
talking
want.
about,
We want a tip. We want a tip.
and we need a
And
downtown plan to
so-
get a tip.
And so we wanna hire somebody that's gonna take us through the steps and do it right. And so we will successfully get the tip. That's the
Right.
goal. And in the process of that, they will do the surveys that will help us focus on what,
Some of those
the
technical things
area-
aren't gonna, we don't know right now.
right, because like if you looked at the sample survey and McKenna's here, you know, how, you know, rate the importance of these, and so they would do the survey sample, which would be awesome. And so we'll get a ton of data from this plan that will support the goals of what we need to continue doing as a DDA. But we'll also be poised to get that tip, which we gotta get going, I mean,
Yeah,
we
it's
gotta
gotta
do
happen.
this thing.
Yeah, and we've
And
been putting
so-
off. I fear that we're gonna get so far back that it's not gonna make any difference.
And so
Not right away, anyway.
whatever it is, you know, however it is we do it, we gotta do it. And, you know, we've been not doing it for long enough. And so let's,
I mean, what questions are you really gonna have that aren't answered, or, you know, that's the
I just
question.
wanna know, what's not included?
Yeah.
You've been through this before, so what's not included?
Okay, the
Yeah.
one that did East Jordan,
in the end, was they holding the
This
bag? Were they holding the bag on something that was unforeseen?
No, East Jordan overextended their DDA, their funding. They bought some land that they want a hotel developer to develop, is what I heard. That's why they're kinda sitting there stagnant right now.
I like what church did in 60 days and got a whole bunch of money and didn't do anything. Or I bet,
East
I think
Jordan,
I'll
they
just call-
spent everything they have and will have, is what happened.
Is that right? I heard they spent a ton of money on their.
Well, they put all the planters in the streets, they redid the sewers in the main, the downtown, they put sidewalks in, they put riding paths in. They had a lot of money, and, what they did is, they did it on grants and loans, and they were used up for about 6, 8 years of all the money was coming in.
So they just sat there and they're sitting there twiddling their thumbs right now.
Pretty
well,
much.
who wrote the one for the village? Who was the front runners on that? Was that Larry Eckert and, well,
For what?
when we redid the town?
There you go. That was a big Department of Transportation grant.
Yeah, but I mean, who participated, who
Jordan's back
knows,
in business.
you know, that kind of, you know, the process
They had
probably.
a
Larry
$10
Eckert.
million thing to the
Larry Eckert.
ironworks. It all fell into them.
Oh,
I give him a call.
Hey Tom, if you was to learn something from East Jordan's mistake, what would it have been?
That's what I'm getting at, or was, I was trying to say.
From going through the,
Basically, they spent all the money that they
I
had.
wouldn't call it a mistake, though. I mean, they
Well,
did a lot of
they-
improvements that really brought the town
Did
around.
they go for the TIF and then they got the grants and,
Well, they did that 20 years ago.
okay.
I mean, they've had a DDA for a long time.
so they, so you don't know about the, how they got their plan around, right?
How they got what?
How they got the plan around?
The TIF plan.
The TIF? No, that's been there forever.
That was before, you're right.
So
But
before we can
Central
repeat
Lake also
Jordan's
had a TIF here
mistakes,
before. So, I mean, the paperwork is there, and the work has been done, so we need to find out what can we carry over and what can't we? And how do we save money by doing that?
well, if the TIF is in existence, why haven't we been capturing those funds then?
Because they closed it down. How, when did
The
they?
TIF
There was no TIF here
The TIF was
necessarily.
never put
There was
into
never-
They
place.
had a DDA without a TIF?
They had a DDA without a plan and without a TIF.
For how long?
They
Since
had,
1992.
A
Well,
year or
that's-
two, they were
So
active.
nobody's done anything.
They were active for
Really?
how long?
Like a year.
A year maybe?
Long enough to
So-
get a DDA.
I thought they were up and running. They were never up and running.
No,
But
we
what,
were there by name only because
Oh, yeah?
the
Okay.
92, the big streetscape thing said that you have to have a DDA. And so they had a DDA for the streetscape thing, and it was active while the streetscape thing was being
I never did.
Just
constructed.
in name only.
Well,
So-
the nice thing with that, what makes Central Lake a little bit different than like, let's say Bel Air, who's trying to actually put a DDA in, is now the rules have changed. In order to put in a DDA, you have to go through all these taxing authorities, and they all have the option to opt out. Whereas Central Lake, ours is grandfathered in because we were prior to 2000 something,
Right.
and so the county can't opt out. The county is not supporting any DDAs inside of Antrim County from what I heard at the meeting the other night. So they're opting out of everything because they don't wanna lose any tax dollars. Well, what actually, in talking to Rob back in Galoopi, and I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, it actually benefits them more because of all the development that goes on in the town. Actually helps to attract people in other areas and other businesses, and so everybody benefits, but they're opting out.
We're gonna hold on to their castle and all the part around them.
Yes.
Okay, so you wanna know for the three that responded or whatever that are still in running, what do they not include? And then, I know you can't guarantee that we would qualify and get the TIF, but what would what would happen if they did this work for us and we ended up not getting the TIF? What, how do they,
I'm sure it's a process, you don't
Stand
get,
behind
you
their
don't
word.
get or not get it, you
Well,
just, you have
I
to do
mean,
it right in
what-
order to get it.
okay, and
I
so.
think it actually,
I don't
wasn't
wanna-
it saying that you can,
I
you
think-
get guarantees you get it?
I think though Michelle's making some valid points to go back to the companies and to pose those couple of questions and say, instead of saying, I think, maybe this, just ask those questions, find out from each one of them and get a firm definitive, yes, you cover your survey, no, you don't. Yes, you do this, no, you don't.
And you know what would be a helpful document for us to have in front of us then, I guess, would be just like, when you're buying a computer, it's like compare models, and it's like, and then they'll say, timeline, 5 to 7, and just
Yeah.
the different categories that are relevant to us,
Well, and the problem is what's relevant, because, I mean, you can compare categories. Your computer model, for example, if you're comparing Intel versus an AMD, and it does better in this field, but it does worse in this field, I mean, it's.
But at least we know,
Right,
you know?
I don't think it's quite that complicated, but.
Okay, we have $20,000 budget right now, right?
We have
Which we have-
$12,000 that we can spend. We have
We've allotted 8,000 for other things.
other projects that are still in progress.
So we have 12,000 to hire a company.
Yep.
So how would we pay a $19,500 company?
Well, there's different ways to pay for things too. One of the suggestions that I would have was, I would ask the village to, first off, I'd have them help pay for the survey stuff, outright flat. If there isn't already one, I'd have them help pay for that. But then the other way, other thing I'd look at, I spent a lot of time looking for grants and different options for us over the last 2 months. There's just not a whole lot out there right now. One of the options that's in one of these paperworks here is to get a loan from the village at a 3 or 4%, and then pay that back with TIF revenue, say, 15% or 20%
Which is a tip.
a year until it's paid off, and it comes out of the TIF monies that are created. So that's, I mean, I think that would
Comes out of our
be,
future budget.
that comes out of the
Right.
future budget at 15%, at a percentage that we agree on, whatever that
Not
is.
as long as, the way you talked on East Jordan, you said they ran out, that they had a TIF. or
Well,
they had
They
it.
overspent.
Cause you get, it's,
They went on and did all these projects.
Right,
And
okay, all
completed the
1 year or
project.
2 years, where
Well, no, it did over
several
8
years.
or 9, 10
Okay.
years. They did all these projects and some, the
So they're
money.
still getting TIF money in, but they're getting paid by
Right.
this TIF money. Right.
yeah, it's a
Well,
certain
that's where they
amount
get
in
the
each
income,
year.
you spend that money based on.
So
how
they're
long you
using their
have.
TIF money to pay their obligations that they've already,
Right, and when you
Okay.
spend all your money, you stop building.
so,
And the buildings are going empty.
Now,
Well, no, that has nothing to do with that.
the gentleman from
TIF doesn't build buildings or
No,
run
it
buildings
doesn't,
or
but
put merchandise.
It puts facades on, and it's supposed to bring people in to fill up those empty buildings.
Let me just say this, they can help bring people in. There's still
It's not
other
guaranteed.
components, because each of
Oh,
us
yeah, I
has a
know that.
business.
I know that if there's not a demand for something, they're not gonna put something in.
Okay, in and itself cannot do it all. Okay.
Well, the TIF has nothing to do with putting facades on buildings or reconstruction of buildings or anything else. It's strictly projects done by the DDA.
It can be part
The
of it.
DDA does not put new
The TIF
fronts
is
on
a-
buildings.
The
No, but
grants.
it can
It
But
can
you can go
provide
out- you can go out and
Right.
get it, using that, but not spending that money. to
And
do it.
after it's in place, we qualify for more grants.
right, right. So it opens up a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities that we don't have right now. And so before we can make mistakes that East Jordan took 20 years to make, let's get our plan in place.
That's a good way to put it.
Michelle, are you able to maybe contact these couple of companies that we have proposals from and ask them those few questions?
I would love to.
Is that something where we can ask a few, vote on which one we like out of these right now, and then ask a few questions, and then from that point, go ahead and go with them if the answers are correct?
No, because
Because
there's too
I'm just
many-
trying to move ahead faster than next
Right.
month.
Right, and what I would do is call the places, and I wanna see Missy's
Missy's list?
list. Yep. And
think
then
she
I
has
would
the
give
list.
you
Oh,
a
I didn't get a
report.
chance to look at it. I will
This
look at
thingy.
that.
What's
It was
this?
submitted before you got it.
Michelle,
It's just a list of.
can we make a couple copies of it and drop it off to you at the store?
Sure.
Oh, this list.
Okay.
I thought you were saying something.
And, let's see,
Just
Yeah.
so
So
we have
in
it
the
for the
other
files and
companies?
stuff.
I have a full day of work tomorrow, and then I'm leaving for Niagara Falls on Monday.
Ooh, good for you.
Are you doing the Maid of the Mist and all that fun stuff?
Yes. And so since I'll be roaming, I won't be able to use my cell phone, but I will try to, can we wait a week and a half?
Sure, I mean, and you could probably email them too, I would think.
What?
Well, what-
21st century technology?
Yeah.
What kind of questions are you asking though? I mean, you can call and talk to them all, we could all give them a
I'm
call,
gonna
but
ask them, what's not included?
Sure,
And-
send it to you.
I missed it. So what's not included? I wanna write it down, so I had it too. What's not included?
What's included?
What's
What's not
The
included,
survey.
what's included.
You wanted to ask about the survey, how much, if they would do a survey, how much was it gonna cost extra?
Right, that's not included, like,
Right.
the things that are not included, can they be added on à la carte.
And then my thought is then based on that information, we can take a look at the bullet point list instead of, you know, a 50-page document from each company and say, okay, this is what you have, this is what you have, this is what you have.
This is what you
And
don't
then-
have, and this is.
As a board, we
And
can go
ask-
through and
ask
say, this
each
is
one
what we
for
want,
3
this is what we
references.
want, this is what we
What we
want.
do is you give them a size of a contract that's 10 to 30,000. Give us 3 references, call 3 references. That's all you gotta do is say, how much was your original price and what did it include? And they go 20, but then they hit us for $10,000 extra later.
I will call
Right,
that.
because is it all, was the price that they gave you all inclusive and the end result was the tip was done?
Right.
Okay?
So
That's-
Did anybody notice in the Beckett one if the survey and stuff was included in that one? I didn't notice.
Did we all get copies of all this?
I mean,
They were emailed.
again, that's what,
I have to look at my email. I just-
if Michelle contacts them, that will come back. I mean, we'll find out, I don't see it.
Yeah, they just probably
In
didn't
there.
write it down, but
Okay.
So, again, I think Michelle's questions are.
Because right now, we're looking at Johnson Hill that does not include,
Right. Yep,
a survey,
yep.
or McKenna that does, and they're 10 grand apart.
And then the other one,
And then the Beckett,
and then Missy's list.
The Beckett, we don't know.
We see that
there's
Yeah,
3 on
and the
here that
Beckett.
we don't, that we are new to us.
Let's see,
To
let's-
call.
I'm gonna make a copy of that list and get it back to Michelle.
So these places they're willing to do this for free?
No.
No,
None of them
nobody's
are.
free.
Nobody.
Yeah, so
Nor
it's
should
So
they.
she just went and found other places that,
Looks
She
like
found
the
some of the ones
contract.
that we already had.
okay,
Are these people to get quotes from then, or?
Yeah.
well, I guess, you know, I don't mind getting more quotes, but then we're just back here at this, I mean, I don't know.
We had, what, 3
Quote
quotes?
and Associates.
Again,
But
Chris,
4 or 5?
Chris
There was
made a
5,
really
but
good
only
point.
1 was
5
turned
that went out,
down.
1 was turned
Turned
down,
down
and
the
one more.
RFP.
Yeah, but that
Okay.
was not in
I got,
writing,
I got
right?
No.
some.
The
some
fourth one
outlines
is
so
not.
you
So
can
it
buy
has to be in
Yeah.
writing
Yeah.
before.
This is what we want, this is what's important to us, now, can you do it? And how much? And this is what our expectation is, but, I mean, we don't even have that right now. We just
Well,
realized tonight that we needed a survey.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we don't know that we need a survey, you may not need a survey to have a DDA plan and a TIF, but a
You
certified
want
survey
one.
is a good idea,
Right.
according to the one place, so I don't think it's a requirement,
Well,
but we
again,
want one.
I think that's a valid point, though, is we may want one, we may be able to do it later and not now and still create the TIF. You can always come back and pick it up if you don't have the money to do it now and still create what we want. I mean, it'd be ideal if they give us all the money we want to do everything we want, but if they don't, do we not want to create the TIF?
If we,
I don't wanna create a TIF that isn't based in, you know,
Fact.
that doesn't have the proper foundation to it, you know, I don't think going back, although it's possible. I just think that,
Is that a stop, or does that stop the game if we don't have the money to do the survey? Or at that point, do we not create the TIF?
no, I think we'll find money to fund it, to get it in there, because it is important to have in to start.
Here's the,
But
Bob's
say,
Village, you got burnt, these,
I'm
the
saying if there isn't money,
thing on Tortoise Lake. the
Oh,
thing
there is
the
on-
village is not going to give us any more.
Yeah, then we
Do we
can't.
not create a TIF?
but remember, we talked about
borrowing.
If it wasn't.
That was
for
from the village.
But
If
it'd be
they
another
choose
money
not to do
too.
that, do we not create the TIF?
let's worry about that if that happens.
We can do it that way, or you can plan ahead.
And
Here's here's what this one says, we suggest the DDA request from the village a loan to cover the startup costs with a repayment plan that is based on their collection of tax increment.
That's from the Beckett one?
Typically, amortization schedule is attached to the agreement, the DDA pledges to repay the loan using at least 50% of its annual tax
To get us through it, I guess, think
capture
all references.
until the obligation is paid in full. The loan has an interest rate which is typically 2 to 4%, points higher than they're trying to provide the village with a reasonable return on their
It's all
investment.
the same, the product producer.
I mean, it's fair,
So what they're, the only reason they're doing
Our
that is because they
concern
want you to have
as a
money.
board, we
They don't
still
want
have
your
to
business unless
determine
you can
what
pay
we
them.
want.
Right.
So what they're doing is telling you how to get money. from your own village.
Questions, we
to
can
pay
pay
them.
what we want.
And our village is plenty of money.
Well, that's very about what we talked about.
Well,
Right.
what I was looking at is, the Johnson Hill one was 11,580 without the survey. McKenna is 19,500 with the survey. Does the Beckett come with the survey or not? Because that one's 13,250, and we could almost swing that.
Well, that's,
Somebody needs to
okay.
be
When you
able
do
to
the-
understand all of
the question
Apples
and
to
answer.
apples.
these.
Yeah.
Needs to be able
What you do
to
is you say,
this,
okay, I
this,
need you to
this,
break it
this,
down
this,
because
this,
stuff
this,
that
we've got, some people combine
and say,
packages, some
this
of
is
their,
what we need.
so how much does it cost for the
Because
survey and how much does it cost
That's
for
why
everything else?
we continue to be
So it
wasting
might be
so much time
14,000 for them
People
and
not listening to each other.
5,000
or
for a
talking.
survey, or 12,000 for this, $10,000 for a survey. And then you can say, okay, we'll do our own survey, and we'll just take the first part that you gave us.
Right, the
So-
13,250.
So will you accept an award of a contract for all or partial
Mhm.
if we can do that easier ourselves as far as the survey?
Got this. And I'd like to give you a report way before the next meeting, so that
Okay.
maybe we could call a special meeting possibly.
Maybe they'll do
Please
that.
move forward.
That would be-
Or the alternative, well, I don't know if it's alternative or not.
Special meeting.
Maybe the
Just a
special-
little tiny brief one.
Yeah.
Do you have to give a notice, like a 2-week notice to the public, or?
Not 2 weeks,
I think it's,
Wait,
was it
18
24 hours?
might be 2 days,
I think it's
2
18
days?
hours.
depending on when you
For a
have it.
If
special,
it's a special
Let's just
meeting.
plan on 2 days.
Yeah.
I have to have a couple of these throughout this
until we
to
get
get
it
it
right.
done.
Until the,
Before we get paid the big bucks.
I don't wanna keep on putting this off, because it'll be September before
Correct.
we actually get something done. And really, I guess if anybody has any more questions they wanna add to it, it should be done now, so we're not sitting here in 2
Right.
weeks' time going,
Why
well,
not this?
well, did we ask about this, and what about this, and can we do it this way? Let's finalize what we wanna know, so that in 2 weeks' time, when we call a
Michelle?
special meeting,
That's what
we'll
she's
do it.
writing down.
Michelle is busy for the next few days on vacation. She said she wants to do it in the next week, week and a half. So everybody get her their questions in the next week, week and a half, because I'm sure everybody's gonna be, thinking.
Well, like Kelly brought up a good point about kind of what all those little details are, as part of the plan. If you saw that Boyne City one?
And actually, I might have it.
Well, I was thinking if you could like send over what a plan looks like to those 10, 15, 30 points, whatever they did, that gets the tip approved. And maybe we could look through, see if anything pops out, but,
Here's Boyne City's right here.
oh,
That's Boyne City's plan.
okay, well.
Is that their
I'll look at it right.
is that their DDA
I
plan
don't know
or
if it's
that's
TIF.
Yeah,
the
yep,
plan
it's
or is
development
it?
plan and tax
and
and
TIF?
tip,
Okay.
tip plan, yep.
So pretty much what Ryan's saying is that you agree with me that we as a board need to have a specific amount of expectations of what we expect from this proposal. Michelle's going to go and ask the questions, and you can't move through and just approve something when you don't even know what you want.
Right.
So how do you know what you want if you're don't know the subject material? That's where I'm kinda like, well, wait a second, we didn't know we needed a survey, I didn't know that,
Right.
I didn't think of
Right.
that. So how do we know what questions to ask until we hire an expert to ask those questions? You know what I'm saying, it's kind of this catch-22.
It's like saying you're hungry as a kid,
Yeah,
and
You're
your mom
really-
goes, what are you hungry for? I don't know, I'm just hungry.
I'm just hungry.
So mom's gotta come up with how to food, how to cook the food, where to get the food from,
but the reason you
So
hire an
we-
expert
we're
is so
the
that you can
kid.
answer those questions.
hungry, but other than that, we're about as dumb as a
You know,
skunk.
we can ask the same 5 questions to
I
everybody.
think it's great that what Kruse's already done, and now you gotta take and compile that, take all the similarities and keep those in an RFP or an RFI, and say, we assume that all of these things, that we're all equal on. Okay, now our question is, we need clarification on these other things, and now how much is it gonna cost broken down into 2 different categories.
Okay.
One is the TIF and one is the survey.
Well,
How much
and,
can go
you know,
through?
that can be one of my questions, is how often does a survey need to be done with this type of thing?
And are you including that?
I just think that a recent survey, rather than from 1904, is probably need to be done. I think that they haven't done one, and that's why they've run into little issues here and there, and people and setbacks, and
And they probably.
And they, what it is they take care of that individual problem, but they didn't, you think by now that the village should realize that
It needs to be done.
a more current one needs to be done in
And
the village,
hopefully,
period.
because of thinking that they'll help us pay for
Right.
Well, we have to,
Is
we
that
have
one-
to, might have to influence their opinion by letting them know what we found out with this.
it. Is that one your copy,
So-
Michelle, or is this
Yeah.
one of our copies?
That's mine, but.
Okay, so the only one that, the only one that you don't
And
have a
Brian,
copy
you don't
of
have it.
is the
Yeah.
Beckett one.
Correct, but I should have it on email then.
It should
was-
be, if it didn't go this last time, then it went the, month before, or
Okay.
month and a half before, or whatever.
If I don't have access
It
to it, I'll
wasn't
let you
on the
know.
one you
Okay,
sent out
then we'll
recently.
get you,
It wasn't? Alright, then it didn't get added to it. I blame the secretary.
I only had 3
Cheap
machine
help.
through.
Cheap help. He must have a real job, he's busy at most of the time.
LLE.
A lot of legal.
I know, I looked at it, go
Investigations and-
forward, and then send it over, so I might have missed it.
Alright, so we wanna move on, or?
Well, let's, Michelle's gonna check into that. So the other question I have, I guess, cause when we meet here in 2 weeks' time, and we have all our questions answered, and we know which one we're gonna pick, is how are we gonna pay for it? Because I don't wanna sit here, if we're calling a special meeting, I want it to be a short
Well,
special
that's a
meeting.
discussion you and Ken can have, right, before,
Make sure we get the,
Hello, Ken, it's probably gonna cost us more than we think it is, and just
Without it for a time.
you know,
A duck on-
what do you feel
Well,
about
and,
that?
and this is important because they're having the next
You got a
village
price
meeting
here,
is
is there a
next
price in
week,
this one?
and it's like Tuesday, I think. It might be.
Well, they might have to bring it up,
And
that
then
the
the Beckett
DDA is
one, I
looking
think, has a
to
price on
do
it.
is
Well, that's when we should go to it and look at, this is what we're looking at, and see if they're open to the idea, because I don't wanna just, hey, okay, we're gonna vote next time and we want the village to pay for it, or to loan us the money, and then with them, another 2 weeks go
that's,
by,
you have a discussion with Ken ahead of time and see if that's.
a possibility.
And
Or
then-
if we need, if we need as a board write a letter to the village saying, hey, we'd like to do this DDA plan, TIF plan,
Yeah.
and we'd like to finance through the village with the legal mumbo jumbo on, and is the village.
Amenable to
Well,
that.
here's the thing, right now it looks
And I'll
like,
have Brian do the paperwork.
here's the thing, something's gonna get done very quickly. We've moved very slowly in 8 months, now we're gonna move kinda a little bit too quick. And it's okay that we take a little bit of time, right? This thing doesn't have to get out right away, right? So now that we've kinda set some straightforward goals of doing something next 3 or 4 weeks, we're not gonna meet the next board meeting for the village. No way, no how, it's not gonna be organized, not gonna be
No.
ready.
That's next week.
And we might rush this too quickly. So what I'm saying is, let's try and get it all done before our next meeting. And in the meantime, just open up some dialogue with Kruse.
Find out where,
Yeah.
Well, I guess I wanna
Find out
know,
where he's at. Find
Well,
out if there's just, I can find out tomorrow, I can call the tax man in the village and find out if, I'll be glad to do that. Find out if, a current survey's been done and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
I
And
agree.
Okay.
if we can-
I agree.
Well, why don't you do that?
Huh?
I agree
Alright,
with you,
so,
Chris.
so the thing is,
References?
let's not really rush it that
Got it.
much. It's fine to hurry up and get something done, but
well, it's just mean, to let the board know we're serious about going through with this, and that might be one of our options, our top
yeah,
three
yeah,
options
but
for
not,
lending.
what I'm saying is like Corey says, like, hurry up, get this, we would like to hurry up and get it, and hurry up and approve it. We've already wasted some time, it's okay, right? Everybody's intentions were great. Now let's take this
One
little part
subject that
slow,
working.
because this is really important part of it. And if it takes 45 days to do it, then it takes 45 days to do it.
Oh, right, okay.
right, I just don't wanna make a decision every 30 days and drag this into September. That's what I'm trying to avoid.
No, I've seen that happen too much at the village meetings, so.
Yes,
yeah.
But can
exactly.
you clearly say, this is what we want, this is
Let's
what
give
we
a
expect?
timeline, let's try and stick to it.
If you can't do that, then you can't say, this needs to be done by September.
Right.
Because we have to have a basic, this is what we want.
Well, and my question, because I don't want it to become a source of debate for the next meeting, is, that's why I wanna bring it up now, so we have a chance to think about it and understand it, is if we have the ability to, should we proceed with trying to get a loan from the village to cover whatever one we choose on the next time? Because I don't want it to be, okay, we've picked the $19,500, now how are we gonna pay for it? Well, we gotta wait 3 more months, we have 2 more months to go to the next meeting and.
Well, now we end up with a 10.
But Cory, that's a discussion you're gonna have with Ken, so we have the option.
What I wanna know is there support for that, for a loan versus trying to pay for it outright?
Let's find out what
Well,
our options are.
we have $20,000,
No,
of which 12 of it,
Is left,
8, yeah, 12 is left.
8's
Right.
already been used.
well, I'm just saying, we'll start with 20, we're down to the 12, right? Do we have anything allotted to that 12,000?
Not yet, no.
And let's say we choose somebody, I don't know, let's just throw a number of 14 out there. Can we, I guess one of my questions is payment plans with them,
And they've
like
outlined
installments,
it, they've outlined
Okay.
it in this.
so that we can also work with our money and stretch it too, so we're not just saying, here's our big chunk of change, we hand it to them.
Right.
That should probably, that's probably the best economical way to go about it.
And
So
what
you're
is the
talking to take a
village?
portion
So
of
we
that
can do it-
12? I don't know.
Like we
I'm
do
trying to
like a
understand.
couple
We do
$1,000
installments,
payment,
payments to them, so they're not just getting one
Well,
chunk right up
That's
front.
how one of them says
That-
that they'll bill
that's
us
actually-
as the steps are.
That's what I'm gonna recommend,
Okay.
that's the way I see it, because I'd like to take that $12,000 and figure out a way to make a bigger impact downtown to promote and to repair and to dress up the downtown area.
Just
you know.
wait, because that's part of this plan is they do the different surveys of what people want, you know, or
Right.
what they perceive, and
Right.
what, and you gotta have data, you know, to back that up, and just, if we can
Something
just
that's
like
worked for other
lay a little
towns.
bit low, and maybe we can get some grants to pay for that, so we don't have to use our budget, or get, you know, I mean,
What
Okay.
my understanding is of the $20,000 is that we have to use it this year, because it was given to us by the
I
village.
don't
That
think
was
we're
my
gonna have a problem doing that.
understanding.
And I also think that, that if, you know, the scope of this project is probably gonna take us into 2015. And so, when's the village fiscal year end, and when would new budgetary funds
If it's
be
allocated
released?
in 2014, it's pretty much spent.
Because 2015 is a new year with a new allocation, correct? So, I don't know.
So,
So he's
So Michelle, you're gonna contact the companies,
I am.
ask those questions,
I will.
check on the references.
Will
Corey,
do.
you're going to check with Ken Kruse about the different financing options that are available.
With the village.
I've already looked into
Bring those to the
grants for the
table.
last 2 months, and there's nothing there, this, right now at
It's
all.
gonna have to be borrowed money
Or money that's in our budget, those are our 2 options.
Chris, you're going to,
I'm gonna call Larry Eckert and ask him who was of all the successful people that helped with that last grant. And maybe they can help us a little bit.
okay,
I'm gonna call the tax man in the village, find out if there's a current survey that was done, and with all the boundaries and everything, and then I'm gonna report that to his.
okay. Is there anything else that,
And then Corey's gonna find out if the village would participate in additional funds to do this properly, because it's in their best interest in the future to have a proper survey so that they don't run into the same issues that we might run into. You know?
It's on my list.
So basically, we're saying back to the village council that they should foot the bill for a survey.
Well, they need to talk and
And
figure out how to do it. It's not our money.
and it might be it's already done, so we don't know any of those answers.
Yeah.
And
You know, they
maybe
might have
Is there
done it
any-
when they did the streetscape,
That's what I was gonna,
you know what I'm saying? So they
And
might
maybe
have
not
done
put
the
it
streetscape.
completely, but at least help.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm gonna ask Larry those
To your
couple,
question,
I'll ask him,
yeah,
some-
okay.
I'll ask him the right
I
question.
think those are all legitimate
Well,
questions.
Low interest.
I think before I go to the village council and ask them if that's even a possibility, that I need to know that the board is even at least willing to consider that as an option, because I don't wanna get there and go, you know, they
Think
say,
so.
yes, we'll give you a loan, and then they, you know,
They'd have to
all
be-
right, I got going, I'm coming back here, and well, we don't wanna do that, why'd you wait? Why am I wasting my
As
time?
long as the terms are
Reasonable.
negotiable, you know, I mean.
I'm sure they are, I'm sure whatever we work out, and I'll talk to Ken about it ahead of time, I've talked to him previously, and he's not, actually, I texted him, because that was one of the questions I was gonna ask him tonight,
So find out, yeah.
and he says he's not sure.
and I don't look at you going to Ken and saying, will you give us a loan? I look at you going to Ken saying, what are the options available?
Yeah.
What are A, B, C, and D? So then you can bring them back and say, all right, guys, there's our options, what do we wanna choose to
To
do?
the village?
But you can
Somebody else,
suggest
or-
DEF also.
Yeah,
And I think I've talked to him a little bit about that, and it's gonna be more of the board decision, so instead of just talking to Ken, I'll probably end up having to go to the village council meeting to, or talk to other council members
Village?
ahead of time.
What day is that on?
I think it's Tuesday.
Yeah,
This
village,
Tuesday?
Yeah.
village council
Great.
meeting is next week.
And I think they moved it to Tuesday. Brad, do you know if they moved?
Tuesday.
Is it Tuesday?
It'd be nice if you talked to him before, so he can talk to them before the meeting.
Yes.
And not at the meeting.
And a lot of this might be a moot, some of this might be a moot point.
Absolutely.
Let's find out if it's already
Yeah.
been done.
Yep.
And I would probably say that they had to do a really good survey when they did the roads and everything, when they did that streetscape.
And remember though, that was funded by the Department of Transportation,
Yeah.
and almost every little town around here got into it, so it was a really, I don't know, generous, lavish grant, you know, because Ellsworth even was part of that, you know,
Yeah,
and so, who
yeah,
knows?
but I'm pretty sure they probably did.
Oh, absolutely, yes, yes.
Okay.
And what we need is, according to, McKenna here, is a certified boundary survey of the DDA district.
Okay.
That's what we need.
We need to get that, they won't do that, or is that?
That's what McKenna says is not included, but it
Okay,
says,
okay,
Say one more time.
it says, legal review of plan, blah, 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 and the preparation of a certified boundary survey of the DDA district are not included in this fee. So that is, it sounds like that's what we have to,
I read that. Okay, I will ask that specific.
They have a map. Actually, the
Just if they
equalization,
surveyed it or not.
I called the equalization to get the current map that we have now.
so it might already be done.
But
Okay.
I know, but we need a copy of it, just,
And just to double check,
Yeah,
cross and T's, dot and I's, cover the butts.
well, do you wanna, you're gonna call the tax guy at the village level, do you wanna call, instead of that, call the county and see if they've got a current survey? Cause they're gonna have more of that stuff.
well, I'm gonna ask Larry first what they did, and then they had to do all those things, then I'll call the village, because I might be just, and say, cause they might even forgot.
Right.
They say Larry says you have one, cause they had to have one, right?
Yeah.
And then, so I'm not playing ping pong.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got it,
alright,
put me in coach.
is there anything else then, or this is just discussion on this? Is there anything else that needs to be decided, or?
one last little tiny
I'm
point.
gonna be the net monitor.
Looking at Boyne City's plan here, you know, they have the legal description of the development area, and that's where the survey is gonna be key, because that's where you get the money. That's determining where the boundary is for the tax increment finance, you know? That is, and so, there's quite, you know, the legal description is all in here of what exactly is in the DDA, and that's gonna be crucial for our future budget, you know, so. Can I borrow this?
You
and
can
read
have it, I've got it on
At my
PDF, I
leisure?
can email you a copy, it's right off their website.
It's already.
We've
You can
got
take
the
that one.
Beckett one too, so if you need that
Well,
one.
this is Boyne City's,
I've got
Yes.
Elk Rapids on my computer too.
Yes.
I'll start with Boyne City.
If you need the Beckett, quote,
Yeah,
you can
I'll
take that,
let you know.
you can
Okay,
take that
okay.
with you. Just get it back to us, because you guys are right now seeing the copy we have.
Okay.
Is there anything else regarding the downtown development plan then? Am I, actually, I did one other quick thing, am I calling a special meeting when we get this information, or shall we just wait till next meeting? I would rather move ahead, and if we have to make a decision, if we have enough information to make a decision, should we make a decision?
I
So that we
think,
can have these guys at the next meeting to talk to us about, you know, so, hey, we wanna go with, you know, McKenna and Associates, and we've decided that, you know, we looked at all this stuff, and that's what we think we wanna do, get everybody together and vote on it, and this is how we're gonna pay for it.
I think by the time you throw in, you doing your homework, Matt doing my homework, everything, and you talking to the council, it's gonna take 3 weeks anyhow, so why don't we just move up the regular meeting to, let's say, August, 1st of August.
Well, it's July, their next one's in July,
July 1st.
We're going August, wait, you're trying to make this last longer?
I
see Corey over there and
just.
Yeah,
Okay.
like 3 more weeks,
Anybody got a
so,
calendar?
Yeah, hold on.
So 2nd of July?
for
What was our
me,
meeting gonna be for July?
for me, I will
Second.
not,
Probably would be
Second.
second in
Yeah,
July.
I'm gonna be here the
Second.
second and
No,
July.
yeah.
I'm not gonna be
We could make it the
attending
first.
Yeah,
the
we
meeting
can
on the
just-
2nd of July.
That is,
That's a
So-
Wednesday,
Crazy.
so, and I'd actually, I'd rather move it to like the
Yes.
25th.
Needs to attend to,
A week,
so
our July meeting, we'll move to the 25th of June,
that would be great.
That'd be
because
fine.
that gets rid of the 4th of July, because that's gonna.
Rather
that's
than have
gonna-
all that
everybody.
happen, let's move it up and let's make it towards the end of the week.
So we're gonna
End of the month, you
reschedule.
end
mean?
of the month.
But we have to have a vote on this.
End of the month,
Alright, hold on.
end of the week and the month.
Okay, so June 25th, that's a Wednesday?
Are we
It's
gonna call this
Wednesday.
new business?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Give everybody
Okay.
lots of notice.
Alright, so,
Pest them to be
so
there.
I move that we reschedule our
Corey
July
moves.
meeting.
Corey motions
I move. I so move it.
to move.
Move our, July 2nd meeting to June 25th, 2014.
I second.
Yep,
All in
At what
favor?
time?
Aye.
7 PM.
Here.
alright, and,
That's our regular meeting.
and at that
Library.
meeting, add to that meeting, is all information, all RFP responses are returned by those people, so we can vote on the right one.
Sounds like a plan.
All RFP.
And RFI information has been answered, and we have 3 equal bidders.
Done by.
Who's hot, who's not?
And who
So we're at
seconded
19
it?
so
Kelly?
we're
Kelly
19
seconded.
days.
You seconded
I
it?
second.
Corey,
What's that?
that's only 19 days, so that's.
That's not bad. Yeah,
Is
it's-
that what you feel more comfortable?
Well, yeah, I just don't want it, I'm not so much in a hurry for it, I just would like to have something happen before the fall.
Okay, I'm
You
just
know,
saying.
that's kind of where
Yeah.
my anxiety is about this. You're right, we've spent 8-9 months working on
We
trying to
can't
get
look
to a
back,
point.
but we can take this one
Yeah.
subject and move
Yeah,
forward.
forget about the past, that's good.
Yeah.
Corey,
Okay.
Be sure
Ready,
that they
fast,
get
ready,
posted
ready, here.
as
Yeah,
a
well.
change of the regularly
Last
scheduled
one out.
meeting.
I got all shit.
Yeah, well, I'll get a hold of,
It was supposed to have been the last time.
No,
There was
I
a
was gonna put some-
There was
technical error.
a technical error and it wasn't posted.
it wasn't showing right on their calendar.
She put it in a different calendar than the one that was being
No.
viewed
Okay,
online.
So it was
Well, we
there.
also need
I already
to post
did
it
them,
by
right?
paper.
I already told all lights.
It doesn't have to be in the paper, it's just.
You know, I mean, like on a wall somewhere.
It has to be posted wherever our regular scheduled meetings are posted, which is online. So I will put it at the grocery store and make sure maybe people in the store
Get
too.
it out of the ground.
So that at least it's there. I did this time, when we changed the meeting date for the night, I made sure it was at the grocery store.
Okay.
And,
Like 1 or 2 nice days. so we got
All right.
the fall.
so we're done with that?
Yep.
All right,
Any other old business?
I've got some new business here. I gotta find it.
So we're done with old business?
Yes, I think.
Good cover Bart and correspondence.
No, I'm covered under new business. Bart came into my office and dropped off a letter, which I will read. DDA Board. After long deliberation, I hereby offer my resignation from the Central Lake DDA Board. I did not make this decision easily, however, I have since decided to coach football again. The time that I will be putting towards coaching along with family and work is the reason I have made this tough decision. I hope things will work out for the DDA. If help is needed on any projects, do not hesitate to call me. Sincerely, Bart Patton. And so Bart has handed in his resignation from the board.
Do we have to accept it?
I think, I don't know, how- technically speaking,
Just tell him that and then kick
if we have to,
Just accept it.
well, I guess, well, no, I don't know if we have to vote on accepting it or not, we just say we have to.
You have to.
Okay, so we have to vote on it?
All right. I move we accept Bart Patton's resignation from the board
I second.
with regret.
All in favor?
We tar and feather and take him out of town.
Okay, so Fox,
Don't put that in
Ocean,
there.
and
So why are we meeting on Thursday instead of yesterday? I mean, how much notice did we have?
We have plenty of notice.
it
Did
was
we?
like 4 days.
We have
4 days?
4 days, we went out via email,
Well, like, Ken's gone, he's had to appoint.
business stuff came up for
Right,
him.
right. We're
And
missing like 3 people that was missing, I can scratch you off the list.
Bart and Zelenak told me a couple days ago when we were scheduled, she wasn't gonna be able to make it. So,
Okay.
that's.
Everybody planned
If it
on
had-
this.
if it had
If
been
at all
yesterday-
possible, I'd prefer to keep it on a
Yeah.
particular date.
If it
Oh, yeah,
had been,
that's
if it had
cool.
been yesterday, we'd have been missing like 5 people.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank
So-
you. We had a big, event at the Ellsworth Schools, we had our,
End of the year.
and Lancer Leap Showcase, which is
That's not
like,
really big. Alright, there's, I'm gonna keep moving on here, guys. And Brian's in trouble. Move on to public comment.
you're not in it.
Is there any more public comment, Fred? No more
We're
public
out of our
comment.
circle.
Board comment.
Board comments, Michelle.
Got one. Okay, after our last meeting, when we had the guest speaker, he gave us a resource for the rental rehab program through NISHDA. I've been in correspondence with Julie Gardner, and it looks like Bachman's is could qualify for this program, which could actually save my financial life, which means that NISHDA would help pay to develop the upstairs of the store into apartments, and it could also possibly pay for adding an additional story at the back of the store to add more apartments. And so she's scheduled to come up in July to tour the upstairs. And of course, there's a zillion restrictions. And the one thing is the funding doesn't come directly to me. It's funneled through the village or the county. And so, so I've been praying for a miracle, and this is it. So
That's very cool.
keep it on your radar. So, and I could possibly even hire my husband's company to do it, although.
Does he do good work
Well,
though?
I've inquired about that.
All the
and
paperwork's legal.
my husband's a commercial construction person
That's
who's
cool.
done this kind of work before, so it might be good, but I don't have to hire him. It depends on how he treats me.
That's not looking bad at him,
Yeah, I guess it depends on when it comes down to signing the contract.
What am I gonna get for my money? Is what you-
And actually, the
Now,
program
what's
is.
not included?
Correct.
There better be some lunches in that deal.
Right, well, something. But,
Maybe some flowers.
but there's a 5-year commitment, which is kind of interesting. I have to rent to certain income groups, or offer them to rent to certain income groups, percentage based on population and blah, blah, blah. But after 5 years, the commitment's over with. And so I could turn them into condos if I wanted, or I could, I mean, that was her suggestion.
Yeah.
She knows the system. So anyway, I'm really thrilled.
Good, good.
And that all came because you talked to Dan Leonard, who was here.
Thank God he came to that last meeting.
That was awesome.
Yeah, another thing is I think is part of this new business is, if Shorts did this in so many days and got hundreds of thousands of dollars to help expand his brewery, I think we have a mead brewery on the side of the.
I think.
We have a what?
Distillery.
A
We looked at
mead
distillery moving to town and build a building.
Distillery.
Or how about hard cider? I mean, that's a new thing.
Well,
too.
I'm gonna have the mead guy at the Chief Golf Course, that's gonna be his first venue. He's already got all his licenses, we got everything together. We're gonna have a big turkey leg thing like a,
The Vikings. Like the Vikings.
no, like Robin Hood, and we're gonna have jousting in the backyard and everything else, but
Real jousting?
he's gonna do his mead, which is honey, and, so we're gonna, so I was thinking about that, this distillery that was gonna move where Ron Brewer was, and then for some reason decided not to. But, like I said, if they're giving money out to Shorts to bring people to town to do that, that'd be great. And, so I also was gonna contact him about certain things like that. What kind of businesses does he recommend to get funds for? Which might be a little more fast track than what we're doing.
Right.
B, I talked to Alden State Bank again, and he is now gonna bring something to the board of, they wanna take 10 feet of the property line of the property next door to the bank on the north side. And he's gonna sell it to me, he's gonna donate it straight out to the village.
Wow. Directly connected to the bank.
So that way they have a bigger write-off rather than selling it to me and me writing it off and donating it to the village.
Whatever.
I gave him the idea and I knew that he would go the other way, and it's okay, because I was only gonna give him like $5,000 for the lot. But the good thing is, it's already got water there, it's already got electric, and it's already got a sewer tap. So either a public bathroom, which might be nice for the village.
Yeah, you were mentioning.
When we have all these activities instead of putting outhouses all the time, A.
Correct.
B, a park or something.
Could it be like a parking, like, when parking's always a problem.
Or parking.
Like parking and a bathroom, like, is it room, I don't know how big the space is.
Yeah, but he's just gonna take 10 feet more just because he needs a better turnaround around the bank, right? And then, cause he said, you think the village would be okay if I took the 10 feet? And I said, if you're gonna give them the whole rest of the property, I don't think any reason they're gonna take whatever they get.
Yeah. Yeah.
To abut up to that, Chris, I reached out to Dan as well and asked about if there were any grants or, you know, programs available for moving historic buildings.
Yes.
We're definitely not gonna be paying for that out of our business cost. But, more or less, I'm waiting to hear back from them if there is any programs available. In which case, if the village had a piece of property that they wanted to move that building to, they could have the building, they could have all of the
Which I'm not
history
the old liquor
involved with
building,
it.
Yeah.
or it was used as liquor building, right?
Yeah, and they could actually put it on that lot.
Have you
And
talked to Ken
so-
about that at all, so that he can kind of be looking for space maybe?
No, because I
Yeah,
don't
I've got
know if
nothing
the
black
government
and
is
white.
going to have any programs, so I'm gonna do that
Oh, I
first.
could-
Then,
Yeah.
if that's the case,
Make a
then I'll
head
talk to the
too.
village, present it as an opportunity for them, and if that's not something they want to pursue in doing, then there'll be signs going up in those two buildings, offering to anybody that those buildings are free to them if they want to pay to move it.
Now, the stuff inside, like the freezer doors and stuff, have you considered donating those to historical society or anything like that?
That's, at this point, it's kind of a personal, thing, so I'm not gonna get into those details.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine.
So I've been contacted by over a dozen people. I've got, a guy working with an architect who wants to put it in his barn and preserve it. There's all kinds of things that we're looking to preserve that.
So I'm sure you'll choose a really cool thing.
Yeah.
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 So anyhow, the time frame of that thing is very shortly because he's already talked to the other people on the bank board, so.
Okay, so that's gonna happen relatively soon.
Yeah, I had a call in for Kruse, he didn't call me back, so, you have to give him that information. And that, any that can be donated to the DDA or the whatever, and I think what happens, if we get that for the village, I think that'll give us some money for the survey and everything, how's that?
Well, I think,
I'm into horse trading, I mean, if I can make the deal, we gotta get
Have them
some.
donate it straight.
I think,
We'll swap it around.
Chris, I think we're starting to hear success stories
Mhm.
from this being put together.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we're needing some success stories. So that's a wonderful thing. I think we're hearing some wonderful testimonies tonight, so I'm glad to hear that.
That's excellent.
So,
So Chris, before they donate it, could you ask them to please build a public restroom on it and then donate it?
Yeah, work that into your,
And a tunnel to the bottom of the bank, right inside the vault.
oh, you like the public restroom thing?
We need it. I
We don't have
can't
any.
afford to let people use my restroom anymore, and I feel so bad saying there's fudgies. She sends them to us.
That's why that
Well,
worried.
hey,
Hold
you
on,
know.
you were recorded on
Town
that.
does need, oh,
No, Mary lets
Somewhere.
everybody use it whenever they wanna use it, but cause she has like 2 bathrooms.
Yeah, and I
She
don't.
has a
I
handicap
don't
in
even
there
have a
right now.
sink. I don't even have a sink. I just feel bad that the public doesn't have, because I know when I'm traveling and shopping, I like a nice public restroom in town, so
I
you
think
know.
you could incorporate parking in that there. I mean, I don't see any reason.
I think that'd be a great idea.
You could probably, I don't know about the unisex thing, but,
Family restroom.
All right, is there any other board comments? Moving on, chairman comments. I went to the DDA training, and I've talked enough about it. The one thing that came out of that I didn't talk about was they recommended that we join the Michigan Downtown Association, I believe is what it's called. I didn't write it down right. And membership's $100 for an organization our size, and it's basically a newsletter and resource for grants and different things, different information they kind of flood you with, and it's, I'm not one for joining organizations just to join something and say, hey, I got that, but I looked at it a little bit online, it looked like a good idea. It's $100, I think it's worthwhile. I don't know if that'd be something anybody else would be interested in.
No?
Give them the website so they can go look at it.
Yeah. Michigan,
Oh, you mean you joined it individually?
No, we joined it as a group. I gotta make sure I have it on my phone still, if not, it's at the
Well, I think you ought to make a motion.
Michigan Downtown Association. It's education, networking, it's not loading very fast, my phone's gonna die. Visibility, who can be in, this michigandowntowns.com. And DDA, cities, townships, villages, chambers, business improvement districts, principal shopping districts, brownfield redevelopment, local development financing authorities, tax increment financing authorities, and consultants. Budget, membership dues go from October 1st through September 30th.
get a DDA fund on there.
If you're a municipal member, it goes off what your budget is, so if you have a budget under $99,999, your dues are $100 a year. So that'd be us.
Okay.
We might qualify.
Well, I
So-
think you can share best practices with somebody else who's
Who's
been
done it.
stance before. And it's a good idea, and it's a cheap way to.
It's, they do advocacy, events, co-op advertising opportunities, news and resources, member directory, member listserv. So this was recommended by, the NLEA and and Rob back in Loopy. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. And so I guess I would say, out of our remaining budget there too, I'll make a motion that we pay $100 for this and join this listserv and this resource.
I
Next
second.
year, if we don't like it next year, we
We
can.
just don't do it.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright. Then we'll join that, I'll figure out how to get the money for that and make it happen.
Okay. I don't know if this falls under your chairman comments or not, but with Bart resigning, he was also treasurer, right?
Yes.
That is true.
So we need to reassign a treasurer.
Agreed.
I mean, we already, now you're talking $100 bill thing that needs to get paid, flowers need to get paid.
Yeah, and I'm taking those bills straight to the village, because we don't have an account.
Yeah,
Our
technically,
treasurer wasn't
we have-
really doing much or anything, so I don't know if it's really something we have to deal with tonight, because he helped with the budget, I guess, but he doesn't have accounts he has to manage at this
Yeah.
point.
Okay.
So, I mean, we can save that for next meeting and make sure that's an agenda item.
Just letting you know that.
Are you saying you wanna be
Yeah.
the treasurer?
No, what are you saying? We'll have,
I hear
we're
that,
talking about
Randy.
spending
What I'm
money.
saying is it's okay as long as they're gonna issue a check and get that gal paid.
I think we have to have a treasurer, and we will do one by next meeting then.
I think we ought to assign a treasurer.
I'll make sure that we do that.
We need to
Have all of the board members here first.
Well, we can decide that too, because we can
We don't
say,
have to.
we don't
Right,
have to, we can
technically
leave it
it was
open.
between 8 and 12, so if we don't have anybody right now, if somebody comes up later, we could.
Right.
And I don't necessarily wanna get somebody in here just for the sake of having another body in here.
No,
I'd rather have somebody with some expertise on the board, and kinda try
if
to,
there's somebody else in town that has expertise and seen things go and wants to jump in and help.
Yeah.
And, that's the spot to do
So
it.
this puts us at 11 then?
yep,
Yeah.
11, so the majority would be 6.
Okay.
The less the merrier.
Well, it seems to go faster, but
Yeah.
when you have less people, I mean, I don't know if it does or doesn't. And that's all the comments I have, so I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was better.
I felt we got some stuff, even though we didn't. have a vote on it.
Michelle, you seconded?
That time, right?
You adjourned?
Oh, we got out of here